How many times have you felt a quiet shame wash over you as you turned down an invitation, not because you were busy, but because you couldn't afford it? How many times have you made an excuse saying you had other plans when the truth was your wallet was empty and your spirit was tired of pretending? Florence Scovel Shinn knew that humiliation. She lived it. But what makes her story different is that she discovered a way out, a spiritual exit that breaks these chains forever. It might surprise you to know that Florence's journey wasn't one of instant success or luck or even iron-willed discipline. She was someone who, just like you, faced the ache of missing out, the silent weight of watching others live freely while she counted every penny. But in the darkest corners of her struggle, Florence uncovered a principle so powerful that it not only changed her life, it has transformed the destinies of thousands who've dared to apply it. And today, it is yours to claim. Imagine, just for a moment, what your life would feel like if money was never again a reason to say no. Picture yourself accepting every invitation you truly want, surprising friends with gifts, booking trips without a second thought, making choices from desire, not fear. This isn't some far-off dream reserved for the lucky few. Florence discovered that the bridge from lack to wealth isn't crossed by hard work alone, nor by wishing and waiting. The key is hidden in something so simple, so overlooked, that most will never believe it until they see the evidence for themselves. It's the spoken word. The sentences you repeat, day after day, aloud or in the silence of your mind, are programming your reality more powerfully than any circumstance, education, or luck. Florence called it the game of life and how to play it. She saw with piercing clarity that every word you speak plants a seed in the invisible field, a command that shapes what you attract, what you repel, and ultimately, who you become. Here's what changed everything for Florence, and what can change everything for you. She began each morning with a phrase, not a desperate wish, not a timid hope, but a spoken command, bold and certain. The words, "I am now a magnet for divine wealth. Every day in every way prosperity flows to me. I accept my abundance with gratitude and joy." It might seem too simple, almost foolish, but this is the doorway. Florence would say it out loud with conviction, even when her bank account was empty, even when she was afraid. Each day, she would repeat her declaration, like striking a bell that vibrated through every cell of her being. And as the days became weeks and the weeks became months, her reality began to shift. Invitations came, gifts arrived. Work and opportunities she could not have planned began to appear. She became a living magnet for wealth, not by force, but by the law of vibration and the spoken word. Now, I want you to experience this for yourself. For the next 7 days, begin each morning by saying this out loud, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone else, before you let the world dictate your mood. I am now a magnet for divine wealth. Every day, in every way, prosperity flows to me. I accept my abundance with gratitude and joy. Say it standing up, feeling your feet on the ground, letting your voice ring into the room. If doubt whispers that it's pointless, say it anyway. This is not about wishful thinking. It's about commanding the field. Here's what most people miss. Your subconscious mind does not care if you believe these words at first. It simply receives and multiplies what you plant. As you repeat your declaration, you're reprogramming the stories written in your nervous system, stories of lack, shame, limitation, until something inside you finally shifts. The field responds. Your actions become more confident. You notice opportunities that were always there, but hidden by fear. Small wins begin to stack up, then big ones. Florence saw this happen not only for herself, but for those she guided. Stories poured in from people who, for years, had been stuck. People who had grown used to saying no, who had accepted the identity of just getting by. With the power of spoken command, everything began to change. It was never about pretending problems didn't exist, but about refusing to let them write the final chapter. Now this is your invitation. If you want to join a growing circle of people who are practicing this every day, people who are breaking free from scarcity, who are rewriting their money stories, who are supporting each other's breakthroughs, this is your community. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next teaching, the next ritual, or the next testimony. And if you want to confirm your belonging in this field of abundance, drop a comment below. Abundance belongs to me. Let it be short, real, and from your heart. Every voice makes the field stronger, and the more of us who declare together, the more the vibration multiplies for everyone. And if this teaching has touched you and you want to support this movement, you can use the Super Thanks button below. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $2 or whatever you feel called to give. Each offering is received with gratitude, blessed in the field of prosperity, and I affirm it will return to you multiplied. You're not just supporting a channel, you're fueling a wave of transformation that reaches far beyond yourself. We are building something new here, a community where nobody has to feel ashamed of their desires, nobody has to hide from the table, and nobody is left behind. You are invited, you are included, and your intention is what changes everything. Breathe this in. Let your words become your wealth. Tomorrow when you rise, remember, the first voice that speaks over your day should be your own, bold, loving, and certain. This is the practice. This is the law. This is how ordinary people become extraordinary magnets for abundance. Let's continue. There is more to reveal, more to practice, and more to receive as you step fully into the new story you were always meant to live. A few days ago, as I was preparing this message for you, I opened my email and found a story that caught my breath. The subject line was simple. It's working, and I never thought it would. The writer was Sam, a 47-year-old from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who described himself as never the lucky one. He had spent most of his adult life working long shifts at a warehouse, scraping by, always watching money trickle away faster than it arrived. He wrote, "I can't count the number of birthdays or family dinners I missed because I couldn't afford to show up empty-handed. I got so used to pretending, I started believing I didn't deserve more." Sam's words echoed the story so many carry, but rarely speak out loud. He found Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings late one night, one of those moments when you're too tired to hope, but still searching. He started the affirmation, almost mocking himself. I am now a magnet for divine wealth. Every day, in every way, prosperity flows to me. I accept my abundance with gratitude and joy. At first, he whispered it under his breath, embarrassed that his partner might overhear. Nothing changed right away. He still checked his bank account with a pit in his stomach, still looked at bills with that familiar sense of dread. But a week in, something small shifted. Sam realized that instead of dreading the alarm clock, he felt a tiny, unfamiliar sense of anticipation. By the second week, he'd started looking for ways to be grateful, catching himself in the act before old complaints could take over. He wrote the affirmation on a yellow sticky note and stuck it to the inside of his locker where nobody else could see. I kept repeating it, even though my mind kept arguing back, "Who do you think you are? This stuff isn't for people like you." Still, he kept going. Then, in the third week, something happened. The company where Sam worked announced new openings for supervisor positions. He'd never even considered applying. Promotions always seemed reserved for someone else, someone more confident, with a smoother life and a bigger smile. But this time, as he repeated his affirmation that morning, something nudged him. Without telling anyone, he applied. Days went by with no word, and the old doubts tried to creep in. Still, every morning, he said his words, sometimes out loud, sometimes just moving his lips while driving to work. The call came on a Thursday. "Sam, can you come into the office for a minute?" His manager's voice was unreadable. Sam walked in, heartbeat thumping in his ears, prepared for the worst. Instead, he was told that not only had he gotten the position, but the raise would kick in immediately, and his new schedule meant he'd have weekends free for the first time in years. Someone else who'd been the favorite for the job had dropped out unexpectedly, and the spot had opened up just as Sam's name crossed the desk. The increase wasn't massive, about 10% more, but to Sam, it was a miracle. He wrote, "It felt like the world finally noticed me, like my voice, those words, had carved out a space for me to step into." But what struck Sam the most wasn't the paycheck or the title. It was the sense that something had shifted inside him. He found himself smiling for no reason, making plans he'd given up on. He bought a little glass jar from the dollar store, filled it with coins and a note that said, "Thank you," and set it on his bedside table. Every time he looked at it, he remembered the words he spoke each morning. His co-workers teased him at first, saying it was superstitious, but Sam didn't care. "It's my little reminder," he wrote, "that what I speak, I can create." Since then, Sam has started sharing the practice with friends and family, some of whom laughed, some of whom tried and started seeing their own small shifts. A debt paid off, a long overdue apology, an unexpected gift, or just the sudden feeling of being in flow instead of fighting against life. Sam closed his message with a line that still rings in my mind. "I wasted so many years believing I was meant to stay small. Now, every morning, I speak my future. I don't know where it will take me, but I know I'm never going back to silence." Stories like Sam's remind us that the power of the spoken word is not just a theory, but a living current. It doesn't matter where you begin or what others have told you about your place in the world. The field does not respond to your history, but to your vibration in the present moment. Every affirmation is a choice, a declaration that says, "I'm ready for something new, no matter what my past looks like." If you've started your own practice, let this be your encouragement. Even if the evidence is small at first, keep going. Write your words somewhere you'll see them. Say them in the shower while you're driving, as you drift off to sleep. Share your stories in the comments or with a friend. Every voice added to this chorus multiplies the field. And if you're just beginning, know that the only requirement is your willingness to show up and speak. It doesn't matter if you're confident or skeptical, hopeful or hesitant. The field will meet you exactly where you are. As we move forward, I want you to remember Sam's jar, his sticky note, his voice breaking through years of quiet. This is how change begins, not with giant leaps, but with a single word spoken in faith, repeated until it opens a door. This is the journey. This is the spiral of becoming. This is the law Florence Scovel Shinn handed to anyone brave enough to speak their desire into reality. Let's keep going. There is more to uncover, more to practice, and more to receive as you step deeper into the living rhythm of prosperity, one word, one day at a time. Now that you've heard Sam's story, you might find yourself wondering, can a few spoken words, repeated with feeling, really shift something as stubborn as a lifelong money pattern? The answer is simple, but not always easy. Yes, if you turn it into a living ritual. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the spoken word is the great architect of reality, and that the most powerful change begins the moment you treat your words not as wishes, but as daily seeds you plant, water, and trust to grow. Let's begin your practice together, not just as a morning task, but as a living, breathing invitation for the universe to move on your behalf. Tomorrow morning, before your feet even touch the floor, close your eyes, feel the cool air of a new day, and allow yourself a moment of deep stillness. Place your hand over your heart. Sense the quiet drum of your own life, your own possibility. Now, let this phrase rise to your lips. I am now a magnet for divine wealth. Every day, in every way, prosperity flows to me. I accept my abundance with gratitude and joy. Say it slowly. Let every word land, as if you were planting a precious seed in fertile earth. There's no need to rush, no need to force belief. Just let your voice ring out, even if it trembles. You are, in this moment, inviting a new reality to take root. Imagine, as you speak, that the air itself begins to change. The energy in the room subtly shifts, opening up to welcome the vibration you are sending out. For those who want to anchor this practice more deeply, Florence often recommended creating a sensory ritual around the affirmation. Light a candle if you can. Stand by a window, and as the early light pours in, picture the words you speak weaving into the morning air, traveling out into the world to return multiplied. Some find it helpful to hold something tangible, a small crystal, a blessed coin, or even a pinch of salt, while they speak, to create a physical link to their new intention. As your words fill the room, feel them fill your body too, moving from your heart to your hands, to your breath, to the very ground beneath your feet. This is not a magic trick or superstition. It's an act of spiritual authority. Florence believed and proved that when you repeat your command with love and consistency, you begin to rewrite the neural pathways in your brain. Over time, your thoughts become softer, more hopeful. Your posture straightens, your choices become bolder, your eyes start to seek opportunity instead of threat. The world, sensing your new frequency, rearranges itself to match. Throughout your day, keep the affirmation close. You might write it on a slip of paper and keep it in your pocket, tape it inside your wallet, or set a reminder on your phone. Some write it with lipstick on their bathroom mirror, so the first face they see is their own, reflected with the vibration of prosperity. Others, inspired by Sam, place a tiny jar or a folded note on their desk, in their car, or even carry it as a quiet charm on a keychain. The ritual is yours to shape. What matters is that it remains alive in your awareness, not just a task to check off, but a living thread connecting you to the field of abundance. If you can, say your affirmation at least 3 times each morning. But if you forget or rush through a day in a blur, forgive yourself. Return to the practice as soon as you remember. There is no failure, only returning. Every repetition, even whispered in doubt or fatigue, is building momentum. Florence wrote that the field does not respond to perfection, but to persistence. The only way to lose is to give up your voice. You may notice little shifts at first, a stranger offering unexpected kindness, an overdue payment finally arriving, a bill that somehow feels lighter when you open it. Celebrate these as the evidence of your new vibration taking hold. Florence always encouraged her students to keep a book of blessings, a simple journal where you record even the smallest signs that prosperity is finding its way to you. This practice turns every coincidence into a confirmation, every tiny breakthrough into a testimony that strengthens your faith. And here's something deeper. When you speak your affirmation, do it with your whole self. Don't just recite the words, feel them. See yourself as already abundant, already free. Picture yourself smiling as you accept an invitation, or as you check your bank account with gratitude instead of anxiety. Imagine your future self looking back at this moment, grateful that you dared to speak up for your own abundance. Your imagination is not a distraction. It's a bridge between your spoken command and the reality that is already forming. For those who want to go further, Florence often taught the power of rhythm. She'd suggest pairing your affirmation with a daily ritual, like brewing your morning coffee, brushing your teeth, or walking to the bus stop. Let the movement of your body become part of the incantation. Each step, each gesture, is a drumbeat that roots the new pattern more deeply into your mind and your field. Over time, the affirmation becomes as natural as breathing, a quiet background music to your life. If resistance arises, if a voice inside you scoffs, "This is silly, this will never work," greet it gently. That voice is the echo of old stories, not your final truth. Florence taught that the field is impersonal. It multiplies whatever you plant, whether that's doubt or belief. So when the old doubts surface, simply notice them and return to your affirmation. Every act of returning is an act of courage. And don't underestimate the impact of your words on others. Your practice is not isolated. Whether you share your journey out loud or keep it quietly sacred, you are sending out ripples that encourage those around you. Your friends, family, even strangers may begin to sense something new in you. A confidence, a softness, a possibility that was missing before. Some may be inspired to try for themselves. Others may dismiss it. That's okay. Your only job is to hold your vibrations steady, to be the living proof that new stories can be written, starting with a single phrase. As you continue this practice, you may find yourself moved to generosity, to give a little more, to share a blessing, to send a kind word. This is the natural overflow of prosperity. And Florence believed that every act of giving increases the field for everyone. When you feel abundant, even in small ways, look for chances to spread that energy. A compliment, a dollar, a prayer. Each is a seed that multiplies in the field. So, tonight before you sleep, and again tomorrow as you rise, let your first and last words be words of wealth. Let them be simple, but spoken with sincerity. With every repetition, you are drawing closer to the future you've always imagined. If you stumble, if you forget, if you wake up late and only remember halfway through your day, begin again. The spiral of abundance is always open, always ready for your return. This is how you turn a phrase into a fortune, a morning into a movement, a whisper into a wave that can lift not just you, but all who hear its call. It all begins here, with your voice, your faith, and your willingness to keep planting, keep returning, keep believing that your word is the law of your life. Let's keep going. The practice has begun, but there is still so much more to experience, to receive, and to celebrate as you anchor this ritual more deeply and let it shape not only your day, but your destiny. As days go by and you continue with your daily ritual, a subtle shift begins to take place within you. Maybe you won't notice it at first. Perhaps you'll just find yourself breathing a little easier in the morning, your shoulders relaxing where they once held the tension of years. You repeat your words, sometimes with faith, sometimes with doubt, but always with the quiet hope that something unseen is listening. At first, the world outside may seem unchanged. The bills are still there. The job is still the same. The numbers in your account don't jump overnight. And yet, inside you, the landscape is different. It might show up as a sudden moment of peace on a crowded bus, or the feeling of confidence when you speak up in a meeting. It could be the way your friend's eyes light up when you accept an invitation you would have once turned down. These tiny ripples may seem insignificant, but they are the first signs that the field is responding to your command. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the universe is impartial, but it is also unfailingly precise. Every word you speak, every intention you plant, returns to you in a form that matches the vibration you send out. You may also begin to notice resistance, old doubts rising, unexpected setbacks, or moments when the voice of lack tries to reclaim its throne. Don't be discouraged. In fact, see these as evidence that your ritual is working. The old energy is surfacing not to punish you, but to be released. This is the point where many people turn back, believing that nothing is happening or that their efforts are wasted. But Florence was clear. When you feel the tension between your old story and your new affirmation, that's when you are closest to a breakthrough. Sometimes the field responds with small, playful miracles. You find a forgotten bill in your wallet, or a friend repays a loan you'd written off long ago. Other times, the gifts are less material, but even more precious. A sense of worthiness blooming in your chest, or the courage to set a boundary that protects your energy. You may be surprised by how others begin to treat you, with new respect, with unexpected generosity, as if your vibration were quietly broadcasting a new reality that everyone else can sense before you do. This is not a linear journey. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns, when you forget your affirmation, when you catch yourself thinking, nothing is ever going to change. When that happens, return, gently, compassionately, to your practice. One of Florence's greatest teachings was that every return is a victory. You are never starting from zero. Each time you speak your words, you build on every effort that came before. The spiral rises higher, even when it feels like you are walking in circles. Now imagine what happens when hundreds, thousands of people begin to speak these words together. When you comment below, "Abundance belongs to me," or when you share your victory, no matter how small, you are joining a collective wave of intention that magnifies your own vibration. There is a field of power that grows with every voice, every testimony, every seed of gratitude spoken aloud. Florence called this the invisible alliance of prosperity, a network of souls supporting each other's rise, even across continents and lifetimes. In the past weeks, I've received messages from people just like you. Some have been practicing the affirmation for days, others for months. Their stories are not always about sudden windfalls, but about the slow and steady dissolving of lack. One woman in Brazil, Maria, shared how she started waking up earlier, making her coffee and speaking the affirmation while watching the sunrise. At first, nothing changed. Then one morning, her boss called unexpectedly to offer her a new position, one she hadn't even applied for, with better hours and more pay. "It felt like life was finally saying yes to me," she wrote. Maria still keeps her affirmation on her fridge, reading it before every meal. A man from Toronto, named James, said he'd always been skeptical. He started the practice just to prove it wrong. But as he repeated his words day after day, he noticed his anger softening, his relationships improving, and eventually, a side business he'd neglected for years began to attract customers. "I don't know if it's magic or psychology," he confessed, "but either way, I'm not stopping." These stories are not rare. They are becoming more common as more people dare to test the law for themselves. When you join this practice, you are not just speaking for yourself. You are adding your voice to a chorus that lifts us all. Every affirmation, every act of gratitude, every story shared multiplies the energy in the field. The universe has always worked in rhythms and cycles. What you send out, you receive, and what you do collectively is always magnified beyond what you could do alone. If you haven't yet written your affirmation or shared your intention, let this be your moment. Comment below, even if it feels silly or vulnerable. "Abundance belongs to me." Write it on a note, say it before bed, or simply hold it in your heart as you go about your day. You are not asking permission. You are declaring your right to prosperity. Each declaration is a torch lit on the path, not just for you, but for everyone who follows. Some days, the world will try to convince you that nothing has changed. You'll open your bank app and see the same numbers. You'll hear an old voice whispering, "This is just how life is." When that happens, breathe deeply. Remember Florence's words, "Faith is expectancy." Your affirmation is not a plea, it is a command. The field is listening. The results are coming, sometimes in forms you cannot yet imagine. And if you need a reminder, return to the stories. Sam's jar by his bed, Maria's sunrise ritual, James's softened anger. Each one is proof that change is possible, that the spiral rises, that the field responds to the brave, persistent, repeated voice of one who refuses to stay silent. Let's keep going. Your words are at work. The field is moving. You are not alone on this path, and every day, with every affirmation, you draw closer to the reality you are now authoring, one of wealth, freedom, and quiet power. There is a point on this path where you realize the shift you're experiencing is about much more than just your bank balance. What begins as a practice of speaking words each morning grows into something alive, a vibration that touches every area of your life. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that wealth is not just measured in numbers, but in freedom, joy, and the sense of limitless possibility that flows through your days when you truly believe abundance belongs to you. Maybe you start to notice how money arrives in unexpected ways. A refund you'd forgotten about, a generous tip, an opportunity you never saw coming. But just as profound are the changes that take root within you. You find yourself saying yes more often, not out of recklessness, but from a quiet confidence that you are supported. You reach for things you once dismissed as out of reach. Even your relationships begin to shift as you show up with more openness, generosity, and presence. This is the secret of every true millionaire, not the accumulation of wealth for its own sake, but the sense of inner expansion that draws wealth naturally. Florence called this prosperity consciousness. She knew that the universe cannot deliver to a mind still closed by fear or self-doubt. Your daily affirmation is not just a tool to bring money. It is a ceremony that opens you to a new identity, the old identity, the one who declined invitations, who counted every coin, who felt small at the table of life, slowly dissolves. In its place, a new self is born, one who moves through the world as a magnet for blessings. You may notice, too, that the field will test you. There will be moments when an unexpected bill arrives, or an opportunity falls through, or someone questions your new beliefs. In these moments, the temptation is strong to return to the old story, to say, "See, it never works for me." But Florence was insistent. These are not failures. They are invitations to double down on your practice, to declare your affirmation louder, to step forward in faith when evidence seems thin. The spiral always rises, even when it doubles back on itself. There's a subtle magic in celebrating every win, no matter how small. Each time you receive a compliment, a discount, a penny on the sidewalk, take a moment to say, "Thank you." Feel the joy of receiving, no matter the amount. This simple act of gratitude expands your field, signaling to the universe that you are ready for more. Florence advised her students to keep what she called a prosperity altar, a small space, perhaps on a dresser or shelf, where you can place symbols of your abundance. It could be a jar of coins, a handwritten note, a stone you found on a day when you felt hopeful. Each time you pass your altar, pause and remember, you are the source as much as the receiver. It's common to feel self-conscious at first. Friends or family might raise an eyebrow when they hear you talking to yourself or notice your ritual objects. Some might tease, others might question your faith. But remember Sam, who kept his affirmation on a sticky note inside his locker, or Maria, who spoke her words to the rising sun each morning. their results were not diminished by the skepticism of others. If anything, their persistence in the face of doubt made their field even stronger. Sometimes, the greatest changes are invisible. You might realize you're sleeping better, worrying less, or finding peace in the face of challenges that once would have sent you spiraling. Your laughter comes more easily. You attract people who inspire you, who lift you up, who see possibilities where others see problems. Florence believed that as you change your words, you change your world, and that the new world you create ripples out to touch everyone around you. Now let's talk about what it means to become a millionaire in essence. This doesn't start with a bank statement, it starts with a feeling. Begin to act, speak, and think like someone who is already blessed beyond measure. Say yes to opportunities. Bless your bills as they arrive, knowing each one represents a life filled with movement and growth. Treat every transaction, no matter how small, as a sacred exchange. Florence encouraged her students to look for ways to give, even when it felt like there wasn't much to spare. A coin to a stranger, a compliment, a word of encouragement, a super thanks to support someone's journey. Each seed, no matter the size, multiplies in the field. You'll notice, too, that as you step into this new identity, your desires begin to shift. The things you once wanted out of fear or lack lose their hold on you. You stop chasing money for its own sake and begin attracting opportunities that align with your true purpose. Your giving becomes joyful, your receiving becomes effortless. The spiral of prosperity is a dance, sometimes gentle, sometimes wild, but always moving upward. If you ever doubt, return to your affirmation. Speak it in the mirror, speak it in the car, speak it as you pay for your coffee or walk your dog. The field does not sleep. It responds to your every word. Florence taught that the universe is always listening, always waiting for your command. As you practice, the gap between your spoken word and your lived experience will shrink until one day you realize you are living the reality you once only dared to name. Your story is unfolding. Every day is a new chance to speak yourself into wealth, into freedom, into a life that honors the greatness within you. And as you do, you become a beacon for others, proof that the old stories can be rewritten, that abundance is not a privilege, but a birthright. Let's keep going. You've already begun. The current is moving, and your words are carrying you forward, toward a destiny that is bigger, brighter, and more beautiful than you ever imagined. With every passing week, your ritual evolves from a simple habit into something sacred, a living dialogue between you and the invisible field. You begin to recognize the patterns, the little miracles, the ways in which life rearranges itself in response to your spoken word. Sometimes, the changes arrive quietly, a subtle sense of peace as you open your eyes each morning, the gentle ease of knowing your needs will be met. Sometimes, the shift is dramatic, a new job offer, an old debt suddenly forgiven, a flood of opportunities that seem to materialize out of thin air. But no matter how abundance appears, the truth remains. You have become a different person from the one who began this journey. In the beginning, the practice felt foreign, maybe even forced. You spoke the words because you were told it would help, because something inside you refused to give up, because the old ways had failed and you were willing to try anything. But after a month, or 2, or 6, the words settle deeper. They move from your lips to your bones, from your thoughts to your instincts. You find yourself thinking, of course money comes to me. Of course I am worthy. Of course my needs are met. What once felt like a distant hope is now an unquestioned expectation. This is the place where many encounter the final resistance, a storm before the breakthrough. You might experience setbacks that feel almost personal, an unexpected expense, a disappointment, the return of an old fear. It can feel as if the universe is testing your commitment, asking, do you really believe? Will you keep your word when the evidence isn't there? Florence called this the trial of faith. She knew that those who persevere through these storms are always rewarded with a harvest beyond their imagination. During this stage, it's crucial to double down on your ritual. Speak your affirmation with more conviction. Ground yourself in gratitude, even for the challenges. Thank the field for what you cannot yet see. Remember, every seed must push through darkness before it reaches the sun. The spiral of prosperity sometimes dips before it soars, and your willingness to keep going is the mark of a master. One of the most beautiful shifts happens when your daily ritual moves from survival to celebration. You notice yourself celebrating the process, not just the results. Each morning, you wake with a sense of curiosity. What good will find me today? Each evening, you recount the blessings, big and small, that flowed to you. Even the smallest win, a smile from a stranger, a song on the radio that lifts your spirit, feels like a sign from the universe that you are in tune, in flow, in alignment. As you practice, you begin to receive messages from others in this community. Someone posts about paying off a long-standing debt. Another shares the joy of a new relationship, a healed family rift, or the courage to start a dream business. These stories remind you that you're part of something larger, a living field of possibility where each person's victory becomes fuel for the collective rise. The field is always multiplied when more voices join. Your affirmation is now amplified by hundreds, maybe thousands, speaking the same words, carrying the same intention. This is why so many spiritual traditions gather for prayer, for chanting, for song. Because when many hearts unite, the frequency becomes unbreakable. You might also notice your dreams begin to change. No longer haunted by worries about the future, you start to dream of expansion, new places to visit, people to meet, skills to learn, adventures to undertake. The old story, I can't, it's not for me, maybe someday, is replaced by, why not now? Why not me? Florence wrote that the greatest miracle is the shift in your own self-concept, the moment you stop waiting for permission and start acting as if you are already chosen. If you ever falter, return to your altar, your affirmation, your practice. Light a candle. Place your hand over your heart. Speak your truth. I am wealth. I am worthy. I am ready. These words, spoken again and again, keep the field charged with possibility, even on difficult days. Something magical happens as your practice ripples outward. You become a blessing to others, often without even trying. Friends come to you for advice. Strangers sense your openness and offer unexpected gifts. The opportunities you once chased now come seeking you. This is the quantum leap Florence described, a sudden reversal where abundance finds you, not the other way around. With every breakthrough, remember to celebrate. Mark the moment. Share your testimony with the community. Each time you speak your victory, you solidify it in the field, making it easier for others to follow. No win is too small. Every shift is sacred. The field responds to celebration as much as it does to faith. Your identity is changing. You are no longer the one who hopes in secret or shrinks in the face of dreams. You are the one who leads by example, who dares to speak abundance, who lives with the open heart of a millionaire, long before the world recognizes your worth. Your ritual is now your foundation, something no setback can take away, something that grows stronger with every day, every word, every act of gratitude. Let's keep going. The spiral is rising. Your story is just beginning, and the greatest harvest is yet to come. With every breath, Every word, every choice, you are stepping more fully into the life you once only imagined. A life where prosperity, joy, and freedom are not distant promises, but your lived reality, right here, right now. There comes a moment, as you walk this path, when you realize abundance is not something you acquire, but something you become. This is the secret Florence Scovel Shinn tried to show her students again and again. As you persist with your daily affirmations, as the weeks turn to months, something profound stirs within you. You begin to see money and life itself not as a hard-won prize to be grabbed and hoarded, but as a living current that flows through you, around you, and most importantly, from you. This is when the practice transforms into something sacred. The rituals you once performed to get things, more money, more opportunities, more luck, now become portals for giving. You realize that wealth at its core is not about possession, but participation. You step into the stream, and you become the river. You let go of the anxious grip that once closed your fists and open your hands to both receive and release, in trust that what flows from you is already finding its way back multiplied. It's around this time that your relationship with giving takes on a new character, where once you felt fear or hesitation, you now feel excitement. The small acts, a dollar passed to a stranger, a few words of encouragement to a friend, a thank you sent out to the universe, are no longer obligations, but celebrations. Florence was adamant, you cannot outgive the field. Every seed you sow, in kindness, in gratitude, in material support, returns as a harvest beyond the boundaries of your imagination. The cycle of scarcity is broken not by what you hold, but by what you release, and you notice it everywhere. The friend who starts bringing you unexpected coffee, the neighbor who offers you a ride when you're late, the opportunities that seem to arrange themselves so perfectly, you find yourself smiling in disbelief. These moments aren't accidents. They are the evidence of your new alignment. You are living in the flow. The field recognizes you, supports you, and begins to match your generosity, rhythm for rhythm, step for step. At this stage, your intuition sharpens. You begin to sense when to give, when to ask, when to pause, when to leap. You notice the subtle pulls, a feeling to check your email just as good news arrives, a nudge to call a friend who turns out to need you, a knowing that now is the time to act. The more you honor these inner signals, the more they multiply. Florence wrote that prosperity is always trying to reach you, but you must become sensitive to the ways it whispers and winks at you from the corners of ordinary life. One of the most powerful practices you can add at this stage is the ritual of conscious circulation. This means taking time, each week, to give something away, money, time, love, attention, with no expectation other than to bless and be blessed. Some people tithe to their spiritual community, some sponsor a child, some volunteer a few hours, some simply decide to pay forward a kindness. The key is intention. To give, not from duty, but from joy. As you do, you will feel your own abundance grow, not just in your bank account, but in your heart, your relationships, your sense of self-worth. It is also here that many experience what Florence called the great unlocking. Suddenly, opportunities that were once closed to you swing open. People who never noticed you before reach out. Resources arrive as if conjured from thin air. The field is responding to your new signature. The combination of faith, gratitude, and willingness to circulate what you have, trusting it will return. This is the season of harvest. You may find yourself tempted to slow down, to rest in the comfort of your wins. That is natural, and rest is sacred. But the spiral of prosperity is a living rhythm. It asks that you stay in motion. Continue your daily affirmations. Keep celebrating your victories. Bless every bill, every payment, every meal as a sign of your growing field. Let your home become a sanctuary for abundance, a place where money, love, and opportunity flow easily, welcomed and honored, never feared. Many people at this point report mystical experiences. Some have vivid dreams of loved ones guiding them. Others feel waves of gratitude for no apparent reason, as if touched by a grace they can't explain. Some speak of feeling carried through challenges, of knowing without knowing how that everything will work out. These are not fantasies. They are the fruits of your deepening alignment. The invisible world, which once seemed far away, now draws close. Your external reality, too, continues to change. You attract new friendships, deeper relationships, and opportunities to serve and lead. You become a magnet for collaboration, support, and recognition. People sense something different about you. They may not understand it, but they feel it, and they want to be near it. You no longer walk into rooms apologetically. You enter as someone who knows their presence brings value, as someone who is both humble and unshakable. All of this, Florence would say, is the true reward, not the zeros in your bank account, but the ease in your spirit, the joy in your heart, and the knowledge that you are in partnership with the source of all things. You are no longer waiting for abundance. You are living it. You are no longer trying to convince the universe to notice you. You are in constant conversation with it through your words, your deeds, your dreams, your gratitude. Remember, too, that you are now part of a field much larger than yourself. Your daily practice does not just change your world, but the world. Every affirmation you speak, every act of kindness you share, every testimony you celebrate becomes a beacon, a point of light in a web of prosperity that encircles the globe. You are helping to rewrite the collective story, not just for yourself, but for those who may never hear your name but will feel your ripple. If you ever feel fear again, if scarcity returns to whisper its old lies, remember this: the spiral always rises. You are never going backward. Every setback is a setup for a new leap. The field is forgiving. It remembers only your last command, your most recent affirmation, your next act of faith. Keep speaking, keep giving, keep believing. As you continue, you may want to deepen your ritual, adding new affirmations, sharing your wins with friends, teaching others the practice, or simply savoring the miracle of your own transformation. The path is yours to explore, but the destination is always the same: a life of overflow, a heart at peace, and a legacy that echoes far beyond your days. Let's keep going. The river is flowing, the harvest is near, and the journey grows richer with every step you take. The more you give, the more you become. The more you trust, the more you receive. This is the great secret, the open invitation, the living law. Speak it, live it, and watch as prosperity not only finds you, but moves through you, blessing the world in ways you never dreamed possible. There's a moment, sometimes so quiet you almost miss it, when you realize you're no longer the same person who started this journey. All the repetition, all the whispered affirmations, all the daily acts of faith, they've become a part of you, a rhythm in your blood, a new normal you never knew was possible. You start to notice that the world meets you with a different energy, that people respond to your presence in ways that once seemed reserved for others. Opportunities arrive, not with the roar of thunder, but with the gentle certainty of the morning sun, steady and inevitable. It's in this phase that Florence Scovel Shinn's deepest truth becomes real. Abundance isn't something you chase. It's something you welcome. It's a guest that recognizes the vibration of a prepared table, the open door, the field of gratitude you've sown in quiet moments when no one was watching. It is here, after months of ritual, that life offers you gifts that go beyond what money can buy. Peace of mind, deep rest, relationships that feel like home, the confidence to speak your truth and trust you'll be received. But don't mistake this new phase for a finish line. The spiral of prosperity, like all things in the universe, never stops turning. What once felt like a victory, a new job, an unexpected windfall, the end of a debt, now becomes the foundation for even greater expansion. You realize you're playing a different game, one that isn't about enough, but about overflow, contribution, and the joy of seeing others rise with you. The blessings that once seemed miraculous become your new baseline. Now, the invitation is to use your wealth, inner and outer, to create ripples that lift the whole field. One of the most powerful discoveries at this level is how setbacks transform. An unexpected bill, a lost opportunity, a moment of doubt, they no longer send you back to zero. Instead, you meet them with a kind of grounded faith, knowing that every contraction is simply the field's way of gathering energy for the next expansion. You breathe through the challenge, return to your ritual, and almost always, what you need arrives on time, often from channels you never would have predicted. People begin to notice the change in you. They comment on your calm, your optimism, your resilience in the face of life's surprises. Some will ask what you're doing differently. Others will simply want to be near your energy, hoping it might rub off. And for the first time, perhaps, you realize that your story is a living testimony, a beacon that others can follow, a reminder that abundance is possible, even for those who once thought it was out of reach. Florence would say that this is when you truly become a teacher, whether you set out to or not. Your daily practice, your willingness to speak abundance over your life, your commitment to gratitude and giving, all these become seeds in the fields of those around you. You start to share your story, not with pride, but with humility and hope, knowing that every word you speak might be the invitation someone else has been waiting for. Now, the power of community becomes clear. In the comments, in private messages, in quiet conversations over coffee, people begin to share their own wins and setbacks, their miracles and their doubts. The energy that once felt like yours alone now multiplies, becoming a movement, a wave of prosperity that washes over everyone bold enough to step in. You are no longer just a student of abundance. You are a channel through which the field expresses itself. The spiral rises higher as you continue to visualize your future, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones, your city, your world. You see abundance not just as more money, but as overflowing health, opportunities for growth, safety, connection, and purpose for all who cross your path. You bless your bank account, your home, your food, your friendships, and you do it with the quiet knowing that what you honor, you multiply. At this stage, Florence's favorite practices, advanced visualization, speaking blessings over every area of your life, and celebrating every little victory, become your daily nourishment. You catch yourself dreaming bigger dreams, asking new questions, daring to imagine outcomes that once felt impossible. And when fear or doubt tries to return, you meet it not as an enemy, but as an old friend who's outgrown its welcome. You thank it for what it taught you, and then you send it on its way. You'll notice, too, that your sense of time changes. Instead of obsessing over how long something takes, you start to trust the rhythm of your own spiral. The field brings what you need, when you're truly ready. Some miracles arrive overnight. Others require seasons of faith. But you no longer live by the clock. You live by the cycle, by the knowing that what you plant will bloom, often in ways that surpass your plans. The greatest joy at this point is giving back, inviting others into the practice, sharing the tools and rituals that changed your life. Whether it's through a story, a small gift, a super thanks to support the community, or simply a word of encouragement, you become a contributor to the collective rise. You understand, deep in your bones, that what you send out cannot help but return multiplied. And now, as you look ahead, you realize there is always another level. There are more blessings to claim, more dreams to nurture, more souls to inspire. You are both a receiver and a transmitter, a living proof that Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings were never just about money, but about the art of living in joyful expectation, radical gratitude, and unshakable trust in the field. So tonight, as you close your eyes and rest, speak one more affirmation, not just for yourself, but for the community rising with you. Abundance flows to all who are ready. The field multiplies our dreams. We are blessed and we bless in return. With every repetition, every breath, every small act of faith, you are helping to create a world where prosperity is not a secret, but a song everyone is invited to sing. And as you rise, so does the spiral, carrying you and all who dare to believe higher and higher into the life you once only dreamed. There is a season in every journey of abundance where celebration becomes the natural language of your days. You find yourself waking with gratitude, not because everything is perfect, but because you recognize that life itself is a series of gifts, wrapped in the ordinary moments you once overlooked. Where you once counted coins and measured your worth by what you lacked, now you count blessings, conversations that warm your heart, small acts of kindness, unexpected messages that arrive just when you need them. The spiral of prosperity, having carried you from hope to practice, from doubt to faith, now ushers you into a cycle of harvest. This is when you realize that the field you once spoke to in whispers is now answering back in a voice that echoes through every aspect of your life. Opportunities you planted months ago bear fruit, sometimes in ways you never anticipated. A new client appears just as an old one leaves. An idea you jotted down in a notebook suddenly becomes a doorway. A friend who once struggled alongside you now invites you to partner in something greater. The universe, it seems, delights in your willingness to play. Florence Scovel Shinn would call this living in the answered prayer. You become comfortable with celebration, with receiving, with letting the world love you back. It's no longer pride or ego. It's the natural result of a field that has been carefully tended, watered with gratitude, and sung into bloom by your daily affirmations. Each win, no matter how small, is a sacred ripple that invites even more to follow. You discover that gratitude is a magnet, and the more you feel it, the more life rushes to fill your open hands. At this stage, the meaning of wealth deepens. Money, yes, is more present, but so are laughter, time, freedom, and joy. Your relationships grow stronger, rooted in honesty and trust. You catch yourself encouraging others without effort, your words carrying a new weight, your presence calming the room. This is what Florence meant when she wrote, "Your word is your wand." You are no longer conjuring abundance out of thin air. You are living as its channel, the vessel through which the field pours itself into the world. With celebration comes legacy. You start to think about how your journey might serve others. Maybe you mentor someone starting out, share your story in a message or a video, or simply hold space for a friend who needs hope. Your victories, once private, now become seeds for the collective harvest. You see your own life reflected in those who follow, each new voice adding to the chorus, each new testimony weaving another thread into the tapestry of abundance. You may also notice how the old fears, while not gone, have lost their power. When a setback comes, you meet it with curiosity instead of panic. What is this here to teach me, you ask? And almost always, a deeper truth emerges, a reminder that the spiral does not collapse. it only expands. Even losses now carry hidden gifts. What once felt like an ending is simply the field's way of making room for more. One of the most profound changes at this stage is the shift from wanting to having, from striving to allowing. You become a magnet for synchronicity. The right words come when you need them. A needed sum appears at just the right moment. You trust yourself to make bold decisions, knowing the field will support your leap. Florence taught that this is not luck or chance, but the law, your outer world now faithfully mirroring the abundance you have built inside. Your daily rituals, once so deliberate, now feel like second nature. Affirmations flow easily from your lips. Gratitude colors every conversation. You make time to celebrate, not just your own victories, but the victories of those around you. The community that once lifted you is now lifted by you, and the spiral continues, each cycle raising you higher. Now you begin to dream not only for yourself, but for the world. You bless the projects you are a part of, the meals you eat, the strangers you pass on the street. You look at your hands and recognize them as instruments of the field, able to give, to heal, to build, to receive. The abundance that once seemed a distant promise is now the ground you walk on, the rhythm of your breath, the energy in your words, the current in your life. In the comments, you see the movement growing. Each new story is proof that no one walks this path alone. The ritual is alive, a spiral rising, a song echoing through homes and hearts across continents. This is how collective wealth is built, not just in the sharing of techniques, but in the shared commitment to see everyone rise. When one person celebrates, everyone is lifted. When one person breaks through, the pathway is widened for all who follow. You are no longer just a participant. You are a keeper of the flame, a beacon for those who are just finding their voice. Your journey is an invitation, a promise, a living testimony that abundance is not only possible, but inevitable for all who are willing to believe, to act, to persist. As you approach the closing of this cycle, feel the field beneath you, solid, generous, alive. The work is never truly finished, because the spiral always rises. But you can rest here, in the sweetness of your harvest, knowing you have become the kind of person for whom prosperity is the most natural thing in the world. Let's continue together. The next step is not an ending, but a beginning, a chance to deepen your practice, to expand your vision, to welcome the miracles that are already on their way. The spiral is open, the song is still playing, and you are right where you belong, at the center of your own abundance, surrounded by the community you helped to build, ready to carry the flame forward into tomorrow. You've walked a spiral path, not in straight lines, but in waves, sometimes rising, sometimes looping back, always gathering new strength. Looking back, you can see the subtle changes that have become your new reality. The world outside may look much the same, but your inner landscape has been utterly transformed. The old stories of lack, fear, and limitation now seem like dreams you once had, faded in the light of all you have become. Your mind is trained on possibility. Your words shape the atmosphere around you. The field you once whispered to in hope now responds to you as a familiar friend, eager to multiply whatever you declare. In this space, you are no longer a seeker. You have become the source. You are no longer at the mercy of chance, but a participant in the sacred choreography of life. Florence Scovel Shinn knew that prosperity is not an accident or a favor from fate. It is a field you plant, a rhythm you maintain, a fire you tend every single day. What you have built is not easily undone. It is a new gravitational force in your life, quietly drawing to you all the good that once felt out of reach. Pause for a moment. Feel the weight of your own journey. The memories of every time you chose to speak an affirmation instead of a complaint. Every time you gave thanks before the evidence appeared. Every time you celebrated the win, no matter how small. These were not just habits. They were acts of devotion, rituals that shifted your place in the universe. Every repetition was a declaration of belonging, a claim on your own birthright. As the spiral closes, a new cycle begins. The beauty of this path is that there is no final destination, only deeper layers, higher levels, wider circles of influence. Now, you are invited to become a keeper of the field for others. Maybe it's through a kind word, a gentle teaching, or simply the quiet certainty you carry. Your presence is now a transmission. People feel safer, more hopeful, more open in your orbit. You are a blessing by example, a lighthouse on the shore for all who are still drifting in the old stories. It is here that you may feel called to create your own rituals of gratitude, celebration, and giving. The acts don't have to be grand, a whispered prayer at dawn, a blessing over your morning coffee, a thank you spoken aloud as you pay a bill. Maybe you choose to pass along a portion of what you receive, knowing that every act of generosity is a new spiral set in motion. The field loves a cheerful giver. As you give, you receive. As you receive, you become more able to give. Notice how your identity continues to shift. You may still have moments of doubt, but they pass through you quickly, no longer taking root. When setbacks appear, you greet them with curiosity and faith, knowing that every apparent loss is just the field's way of clearing space for a greater gain. What once would have sent you spiraling now becomes a cue to return to your practice, to bless the process, to trust in the unseen movement of abundance. And you do not walk alone. All around you, the community is growing, each person adding their voice to the song, their story to the spiral. In the comments, you see lives changing, miracles unfolding, testimonies that remind you of your own first steps. There's a sense of belonging here, a recognition that your journey is not just personal, but part of a greater awakening. Every time you witness someone else's victory, your own field grows stronger. There is a new courage blooming inside you, the courage to dream bigger, to act bolder, to believe that you are always supported. You begin to wonder, if this is possible for me, what else is possible? The field responds to such curiosity with gifts beyond measure. New opportunities, new connections, new visions begin to arrive, each one an answer to the unspoken question in your heart. Can I really have it all? The field answers, again and again. Yes, yes, and more. As this cycle draws to a close, honor yourself. Take a moment to look at how far you've come, not just in material wealth, but in the freedom to be yourself, to love without fear, to create without apology. Your abundance is now a living force, a legacy you carry forward for all who will come after. The spiral does not end. It carries you onward, upward, outward, into new adventures, new dreams, new horizons. Let this final breath be a seal upon your journey. Speak aloud if you wish. I am abundance in motion. I am the source and the steward. The spiral is open. My field is alive. My prosperity is permanent. These are not just words. They are the keys that open new worlds. Each repetition anchors you deeper in the truth that you are worthy, you are capable, you are loved by the field itself. As you step forward, remember that every act, every word, every thought is a seed. Plant generously. Celebrate often. Share your gifts without fear. The universe is always listening, always responding, always conspiring to lift you higher. If you have felt moved, inspired, transformed by this journey, I invite you to anchor your commitment in the field. Leave your testimony in the comments. Just a few words to mark your arrival at this new level. Celebrate someone else's win. Encourage those who are just beginning. Each ripple you send out becomes part of the collective harvest, a spiral of blessing that can never return void. The field is open. The story continues. The abundance you now claim is only the beginning of what you will discover. With every breath, every choice, every act of faith, you are writing a new chapter, not just for yourself, but for all who are watching, waiting, hoping for a sign that they too belong. So let it be written, so let it be lived, so let it be sealed. It is done.